Hello and welcome to the We Are Birmingham podcast. I'm Chris Golding.
I'm Matthew Elliott.
I thought you were going to sneeze then. And as always, joined by Dave, the vegan. How are we doing, Dave? You okay?
Sometimes vegan, sometimes vegetarian. Yeah, good. Thanks. You guys?
Sometimes.
Sometimes a venison eater.
there was the winter lapse. Yeah.
Oh, mate, absolutely blew my mind. Fair play to you. Fair play to you for giving it. How are we all doing? Chewy, shall we start with you?
I've been better. I've been better. It's I'm working from home. Obviously, still my arm is not good. So yeah, I might have to take an earlier trip to the fracture clinic tomorrow. I've been in a lot of pain last couple of days. So
leads us nicely to our new segment of what drugs is Matthew on this week.
I'm not supposed to be on anything now. I'm supposed to have had my course of tablets, but I'm on I'm still on codeine at the moment, and I've just had to take a few more before coming on here. I apologise in advance because nobody in my house is asleep, which means my other half has not been able to go to netball training this evening either. So she's now upstairs trying to put little people to bed. So if we hear any background noise, this used to be a fairly frequent thing. You may hear some tonight, and I apologise in advance. But other than that, I'm all right. I went on a Rangers podcast this morning to talk about Kieran Dowell and Ben Davies the day after probably their worst performances in a blue shirt. So that was fun.
We'll come on to that. I've also got to apologise in advance because I'm dadding alone tonight while my missus is at work. I've got a snotty, poorly little girl with a cough in bed upstairs. So last night she woke
and
up.
Your daughter's there as well.
Hey.
Unbelievable.
Oh dear. Last night she woke up about 3-4 times during the night, almost like night terrors. So I'm hoping that at least until my missus gets home that she doesn't get any of them, because if I have to disappear, boy.
I feel your pain with night terrors. My third, she has had them frequently since the age of 3, and she's still having them now at the age she's just turned 6, and she still has them a couple of 2 or 3 times a week. So hopefully you don't have to experience that, because it's a bit of a nightmare. Excuse the pun.
I mean, it was only one night. I think it's just tied into whatever's going on with her nose and chest and whatever else.
Of a fever or whatever.
Yeah. But she's had some medicine. She's had some honey and warm water. So hopefully she'll be all right. But I can hear her coughing away. So if I have to dart off, then I have to dart off. But hopefully she can settle herself. What about you, Dave? Anything going on in your household?
It's silent running here. The wife may be playing on the PS5. Other than that, pretty.
So may hear a controller smash against the wall at some point because she's fuming because she can't beat the boss on a certain level.
Prince of Persia game. Yeah.
So should we get into football?
I suppose.
I thought we were going to quickly get into what your afternoon was.
Oh yeah, I suppose that is something that I did say to you that we could mention it. I had the afternoon off because I was doing a motorway speed awareness course. I'm all good. To be fair, it was very very insightful in some of the things that they said, but I'm still pissed off about the fact. So this was, do you remember Barnsley away just before Christmas, where it was the really windy
Storm Dara?
Is that the one, the Irish one?
They've all felt pretty Irish these last few storms.
You're not blaming the storm for pushing you up the speed limit?
No. So I drove
90-mile-per-hour winds down the motorway.
You remember it was pushing me.
But my engine wasn't even on.
Well, so that day I'd driven to, if you remember the story, we went to IKEA for Father Christmas breakfast with him, and then I had to take the missus to Wolverhampton. Was that the arm?
Yeah,
keep it still. Then drove the missus to Shrewsbury for the afternoon, and then drove to Barnsley. all fine, like through this ridiculous storm, apparently. Then on the way back, the M1 on the way back from Barnsley, 40 mile an hour due to high winds. So I coasted down to the first 40 mile an hour sign, and as I went through it, a flash in the back window in the mirror, and I was like, fuck. Look down, I was doing about 45 mile an hour, and I was caught doing 46 on the M1. So I'm still pissed off about it. But
Well, it's the same as me. I was caught on the way back from the Bolton game back in November.
So you're not allowed for wind assistance, though. They should take that into account, shouldn't they? You know, when like people do a world record at the Olympics, but then it's like they do a long jump when it's wind assisted, and so it doesn't actually count because the wind was over a certain thing. You should have tried to appeal it by wind speed.
So
yeah,
if
they'd have listened to that. To be honest, mate, when it came through with the motorway speed awareness course, I was just like, yeah, fuck it, just do that. Like, I hold my hands up. I was going too fast, but
the good thing about this is that you've still got you can't do it again for 3 years, but you can get caught on a normal road and do that course
again.
Yeah, no. So you can't do the motorway one again. But you can do the non-motorway one, so you can still get caught on a normal road speeding because they're two different courses.
Happy days then.
Just remember that.
I am 46 on a 30. That's my next one.
Anyway.
That'd probably just be points anyway. Right, let's move on to football. Shrewsbury first.
Yeah.
So, good performance. I mean, there's a lot being said that Shrewsbury weren't up to much, and Appleton clearly didn't get them fired up for it as we expected. I think there were probably a number of things in play. We looked at it.
Yeah, I thought we were great. I thought we looked refreshed, re-energized. It seemed to just be. They actually looked like they'd actually had a bit of a rest, and they were all raring to go. And it's probably the best we've played for a little while. I thought the only blot on it was the goal at the end. Which
I was thinking of both of you when this went in, because obviously I had 2-0 on this prediction, and then Matthew, you had 3. You must have been cursing Golding when the fourth one came in, but then loving it when theirs went in.
I'm not going to curse it to see Blue score 4 goals, but that was. I was generally impressed. Like, obviously Shrewsbury at the bottom of the league for a reason, but they've gone away to.
I'm just going to.
What are you going to play here?
Just going to jump.
Shrewsbury can fuck off. To be fair,
that was what I sent to you straight after the goal. Yeah.
But I generally thought there's some lovely passages of play. Like, we really imposed ourselves on the game. I mean, they came to try and play. They didn't sit in a low block. They didn't look to shut up shop. I think I said last week that, I mean, they've got nothing to lose, really, have they? It's technically a free hit. If they can go out and just, maybe they can shock us, they tried, but we just sort of play through them. And I thought, genuinely, I was really impressed. Despite the fact they are bottom of the league, it was still nice to see us go out there and actually hammer somebody,
put a team to the sword. And
it could have been 7 or 8 in theory, really. And it was great, obviously, to see Alfie May score again. It was really, really good to see him. I know what it meant to him afterwards as well. You could just see, and the rest of the squad, which I think, obviously there's a few of those pictures between him and Jay Stansfield after the final whistle, which I think that for the few people that thought there might be an issue between them, I think that may have put stuff to bed there, because obviously Jay was super happy for him. But yeah, and Willumson looked like he was back to somewhere near his best again as well, which was certainly a vast improvement anyway.
He was key in the opportunity that Stansfield got. He then created an opportunity for Dowell
to skied it over from about a yard
and just generally looked a lot tidier. Now, I know that we're going to come on to this. I don't know. Is it worth talking about it now, or should we move on?
Well, I know where you're going. We'll wait, and we'll mention that when we get to the Bristol Rovers game.
Yeah, he did look good.
before we come on to that, best Blues home performance of the season, I think.
That or Cambridge.
But who like the bottom two teams, aren't they? Which you'd expect us to play really well against both of those. You've always got the Wrexham game as well, haven't you, at home?
Wrexham
that was
very
very,
good.
very good. From a chances created and just pure dominance, then those two games probably we did create quite a lot there, and like clear-cut chances, not just pot shots and from the edge of the box. So we actually looked really threatening every time we went forward.
And what was the one the other week that came and had a go at us as well? It gave us a few opportunities. I can't remember. Stevenage? No, Lincoln. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, it was definitely the one of the best performances of the season at home. And do you know what struck me as really weird? It was great to see us putting some good stuff together, creating opportunities. But the goal celebrations, it was just like a friendly, because it's I think
routine almost, yeah.
And it's just
certainly at home.
Yeah. It's a difficult one to sort of get up to now. It's almost like we're beating a League One side in the cup when you're a Championship side or something.
So I'm gonna use this for later. Shrewsbury, who was your man of the match?
It's a difficult one because there was some great performances. Leonard.
Yeah, so I would agree with that, and I think the majority of people would agree, or would have the largest slice of the pie.
There were lots of comments about saying how well Leonard had played afterwards.
Very different type of player to Peake, isn't he? He's a little bit more, I guess the word's flamboyant. I guess he's a bit more of a maverick, isn't he? He seems to try cleverer or the trickier type of stuff. Still sees things in a similar sort of way, but I think he's more maybe forward thinking. But we'll keep hold of this.
Less conservative.
Less conservative, yeah. I again really impressed him. He had an assistant as well. He had the assist for Laird's header. So,
and of course Luke Harris with the ball through for Alfie May. It was a nice cameo for him. I mean, he's coming for some stick this season, and I don't think it's unwarranted. But praise when he does something decent. I mean, it was a lovely bit of.
To be fair, had a few times he's come on as a substitute. He seems to have had a bit of an impact. I think he scored against Wickham. He scored against Lincoln in the. I think that might have been the cup, not the league, and obviously set up May during the week. But yeah, I thought then there was some very, very good performances. There wasn't a single player that had a below par performance. It was great to see Dowell and Willumson find some form again. We just seem to be. It was almost like that earlier season form without the defensive lapses, the way we were just a little bit more progressive playing forward. And we still had an element of control, but we seemed to be able to want to push just a little bit more than we normally do, probably because we felt comfortable against the opposition that we could probably go out and score more goals and still have that element of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't disagree with that. And a set piece goal as well.
Yes, and I only was saying the other day that you just wanted to see the centre backs get onto something in the opposition box a little bit more often. They've been fairly dominant in our own box, but can we get something from them in the opposition box? And lo and behold, Ben Davies turns up and
didn't expect to see him do it that way though. Was it?
No,
like a header, not sliding it into the.
No, I mean, to be honest, I thought he was offside at first. I think he thought he was offside at first as well, because he turned around before and looked at the linesman and the referee before he started celebrating. But nice ball in. What's that? Two assists for Kieran Dowell now, but I see two Rangers players there.
Did that
combine for a goal
earlier on?
Yes, yeah. So for those that didn't know, did I mention it earlier?
Yeah, you mentioned it at the start. Yeah, that you were on that.
The Rangers Review podcast. I went and spoke about Kieran Dowell and Ben Davies for what turned out to be nearly half an hour in the end. I only thought I was going on there for 10 minutes, but we chatted away about that, and then we had a bit of a chat about Barry Ferguson as well. So, it was interesting.
Well, let's use that. So the set piece and Davis and Dowell, let's use that to segue into Bristol Rovers.
Mm-hmm.
So Dowell didn't have his best game.
Arguably their worst game, both of them their worst game of the season.
So for me, Davis looked like he'd been on the piss. Like he looked a bit all over the place. I mean, a few of them in that second half, but
there's been 3 games this season where he's looked rattled. There was the first game against Walsall in the Virtue Trophy, which at that point was a Bristol Street Rovers, Bristol Street Rovers, Bristol Street Trophy, Bristol Street Rovers, Bristol Street Trophy. The Bolton game a few weeks back and last night, but was it a Doncor really troubled him. Ben Davies, when the physical side of the game, he's very hit and miss, isn't he? I think he does struggle a little bit.
Big burly forward against him.
But then Clara struggled. A Cochrane, very similar to that Bolton game, looked like he was really having trouble down that side as well. I mean, Laird was fairly anonymous for the most part, but they didn't trouble us down that side too often. But I think they were too busy trying to lock him up, to be honest, which, let's be fair, they did a really good job of. When Calderon had said before the game that we aren't going to sit back, we're not going to give them too much respect, but we're not going to sit back. I thought, yes, it's going to be an open game. It's going to allow us to play. But my word, after we scored, I thought, right, let's go for it, because those opening few minutes we looked in control, and for a few minutes afterwards we looked in control, and then suddenly the game just started to sort of like slip away from us, and I thought, this is looking like Bolton all over again.
Well, in our group chat, you said that, and someone in another group chat that I'm in said exactly the same thing, and there were massive shades of it. And I think half time came probably just the right time for us to get in there and say, come on lads, like, needs what you came here.
We weren't that much better in the second half, were we? It was horrific.
Marginal.
We defended awfully. The distribution from the centre backs and from Allsop yesterday was absolutely, well, that's not, it wasn't dreadful, but it was below, it was substandard, I thought. And there was a lot of times when all of them were doing these long diagonal balls when I don't think we needed to. Allsop especially seems to do it more often than he needs to, when he's got Clara standing there demanding the ball from him when there's nobody within 10 yards of Clara. And I just don't understand why sometimes he just wants to play this sort of Hollywood ball. Obviously it's worked a number of times, and it's a really, really good tactic to have. But I think some teams are maybe getting a little bit wiser to it now, potentially.
What was really lacking from our play last night, it was that dominance in possession and just keeping the ball, moving the ball. Now, whether that was because how they came at us and they pressed us, and I know that Davis did mention that afterwards, but we seem to panic then in those situations and just abandon that style of play.
That is the word. There was panic amongst the whole of the back four. Even Tomoki Iwata looked the same. He was not. There was a few times where he just looked to clear the ball. I'm just like, whoa, hold on a second. It's like, just get your foot on it. Be patient. Then
in stoppage time at the end, there was a few moments with Willumson, Iwata, and then they were all like, it was like hot potato. It was actually hot potato where they couldn't control the ball. It was like their touches were just bouncing off them. They were falling over. And that moment there was when Willumson was then on the floor. I think Iwata was on the floor. Willumson was on the floor. He was like trying to stab the ball away while he was sitting on his ass. And it was just like, this isn't how you play. This isn't what you guys have been doing all season. And it just creeps in.
So to jump in then very quickly, think back to the Cobblers game as well, and you know how catastrophic that was in places. What is the issue with us away?
Well, that is a great question, because our best performance away from home, our last good performance away from home, was Wigan on the 4th of January. If you look at the games we've played since then, we've either drawn and struggled, so Northampton, Reading, or we've scraped a 1-goal win potentially, and probably haven't looked that impressive. So what was the last? So we lost against Bolton, obviously. So there was Bolton, there was Northampton, there was Reading. Yeah, you have to go back to Wigan on the was that New Year's Day or the 4th? Was it
4th of Jan?
4th of Jan, where we had an actual dominant, convincing performance away. We're still winning, or we're still picking up points, which good teams and champions do. They will find a way. And I don't think it's down. You could technically blame the pitch, but maybe. But I don't think that can't be the be all and end all. I think there's our team setting up differently at home. There's more onus on them when their own fans are behind them. The team's just setting up differently, because why not do that to us at our place as well?
I tell you what the difference is now for some teams. So especially like Bristol Rovers last night, they're fighting for their lives. It's the tail end of the season. You haven't got a number of games where you can get over it. Where we've seen this season where they'll try and damage limitation, because now they do need results. So I mean, our play wasn't good enough anyway. But the way that teams are coming at us a little bit, it is a little bit different. People looked at these fixtures and they're like, "Oh, we've played all the ones in the top half. Like all the difficult ones are out the way." But actually, now these are potentially even more difficult, because you're playing against teams that are scrapping for their lives. So I don't know. Is it that they've got a different onus on them, so they're changing the game? But the thing is, you watch Bristol Rovers now. In their next game, they'll be absolutely knackered because of everything that they've put into that game last night. They've emptied the tank. And it's happened so many times this season that a team has then gone on to
and even last night they did look like they started to tire a little bit and switch off. I know Chris Davies said something along the lines of, like, if there was going to be any team that went on to win that, I thought it would be us. I'm not convinced about that, but
I certainly wasn't.
No, I mean, on another day we could have been 3-1 down at half time. They could have had another goal or two. Uncharacteristic goalkeeping, defending from our side. It was less than convincing, but as I said, good teams find a way. We found a way. We extended the lead at the top. We're only 8 points away from winning the league now. We'll get on to what I think where you were going. We'll tie this with a couple of things, but I was wildly surprised at Willumson being kept on for the 90 minutes yesterday. I mean, let's be fair, you could have made 10 subs, keeping Kesi on and taking everybody else off, in theory, if you had enough and you're allowed to do that. Wasn't impressed with him, wasn't impressed with Dowell. I thought Leonard was okay. He wasn't any worse than anybody else. He was trying to do stuff to open up Bristol Rovers, which I think may have been his downfall in the end. In fact, there was a moment where it was the second half. We had the ball in their half, probably about 30, 40 yards from their goal, and he received the ball from somebody, and I think he thought, I think it was maybe Kesi or Jay was making a run in behind him, and he backheeled it. And it was at that moment I knew that Chris Davies was going to take him off in the next 5 minutes. So you'll notice that even though Mark Leonard had a really, really good game on Saturday, or you probably would have noticed that Chris Davies was still shouting at him, directing him, even though he still had like 89% pass completion. The Leonard thing with Chris Davies, and obviously Pate came back and a lot sooner than I thought he would come back. How do we feel about this? Because I've started to have thoughts about it after the weekend, and I know that Chris Davis was asked about Mark Leonard's performance after the game, where I think he was voted man of the match by Blues fans on social media. We've both said he was man of the match. The general consensus was he was man of the match.
Dave, did you say he was man of the match?
For the sake of the argument, just say yes.
For the sake of the argument, yes, I'll say yes.
Apparently, Davis was asked about it, and he completely downplayed the performance. It was really lukewarm on him, which I found bizarre. But my thought is, and you can let me know what you think about this. I think he is what's the word? He's not as risk averse as Paik. I think Paik follows things I think he follows his directions to the letter. I think
regimented.
Davis always says how much he loves Paik. He's always really explicit in how much he loves him. He said about talking to him about wanting him to stay and how much of a really, really good and important player he is. And he is, don't get me wrong. But I think that's because Paik does everything he's told to do. He plays within the guidelines that Chris Davis has set. Obviously, Chris Davis is very meticulous and a very detail-orientated coach, and he expects people to carry out the things that he's put in place. Whilst Leonard does the majority of that, I think there's just too many times where he just floats outside those guidelines.
Wants to play with a bit of freedom, a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
Whereas Peck's more, or Beck is more.
Beck, that's what it should be. Yeah, technically,
he's a bit more controlled in what he does. And do you know what? That's so some of the criticism. Now, there's not been a lot of criticism at all this season of Beck, but I have seen some, and I've seen some comments, and it is that he's very reserved, not attacking enough, too conservative. But if that's what your manager wants,
oh no, absolutely, yeah. It's not a criticism of him as such. I mean, he's doing what he's told.
Yeah,
so he's doing. So I think he's a wonderful footballer. I think we can all see that, and he'll be a wonderful footballer in the Championship, and hopefully beyond that. So, Mark Leonard is also a very, very good footballer. We've seen it, but my worry is that. That Davis doesn't have. This is maybe another conversation for another podcast. But my worry is that Davis doesn't have as much confidence in Mark Leonard to be the player to bring him to life. Yeah,
that he wants him. Yeah,
it's. I don't know. I know at the weekend we're probably going to see Beck back in the side again.
But if you think about it, all season long, we've been saying we're not seeing Mark Leonard enough. We're not seeing Leonard enough. We're not seeing Leonard enough. I'll try saying that first. And do you know what? We haven't. But maybe that is why. Maybe Davis doesn't feel comfortable with him there, so he'd rather put in Gardner Hickman there. If one of them's out, if one of them needs replacing.
I mean, I think that's essentially that's I think where I'm going with it is that, I mean, Mark Leonard's obviously younger. He's got less miles on the clock. He's got his whole career ahead of him. But what you don't want to do is sort of push him out. Now, maybe I'm just clutching at straws here. Not clutching at straws. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit here with this. But I have a feeling there might be something in it, because when I've been watching him, I just realised that he's a really nice, really good footballer to watch. But he's just that little bit more progressive, a little bit more forward thinking, and maybe that's just him naturally. He doesn't follow instructions as much. I mean,
he's been on 10 speed and awareness courses.
Potentially. It's just I don't know why we hadn't thought of it before, but it was that Shrewsbury game that made me really think about it. I spoke to someone else about it, and they sort of. I don't think they saw it like me, but they could understand where I was coming from, and that's why I thought I'll bring it up with where we spoke about it midweek, didn't we?
If you remember, I mentioned the Northampton game. Like, how has he not come on in that game where the midfield was looking so leggy, and you've got Leonard there, who's some talent, and he's sat on the bench, finishes the game on the bench.
And he's used to that pitch as well. He played on it for 2 seasons straight.
Yeah,
So,
it's like it was a home pitch for him. So Gary in chat has said, why not give Leonard a chance at 10? He can't be any worse than Willumson is at the moment. Now, Leonard has played in there a few times.
Yeah. I would like to see him in there, and I think that gives you a little bit more energy in there potentially as well, potentially a little bit more control, even though he's a little bit more.
I messaged last night in the group chat and I said, why not make that change? So
you did say that,
some off or someone and move Leonard.
I was quite surprised he actually brought Peck on last night, because I thought I was surprised to see him on the bench actually, but.
I'm surprised they didn't start him if he was that unsure about it.
So did you say it was Gaz? Yeah. So I mean
Gary. Yeah.
Gary. So the Willumson yesterday, but after we saw what he did at Shrewsbury. Now, let's be fair, nobody was particularly good against Bristol Rovers apart from Kesi. Sorry. Where were we? No one played particularly well apart from Kesi. So he wasn't on his own, but I don't have any idea how Willumson managed to stay on that pitch last night for 90 minutes. Maybe because Dowell had played more minutes recently.
Well, there was Dowell and there was Willumson last night, and neither of them really overly performed. However, I actually thought that I'll wait to see if it said that. I actually thought that after
we still got him.
I actually thought that after Dowell went off, Willumson actually improved. I thought he'd played better then.
I don't know. I mean, you did say that. But I didn't see it. I didn't feel it either. But you mentioned something offline or online, but not on here. I think earlier, was it yesterday or maybe today, that I had mentioned to Brian Dick actually over the weekend. I wasn't 100% sure up until Saturday that Dowell and Willumson could actually play together comfortably or effectively, because you were mostly just seeing. Well, you could see Dowell play pretty well, but you weren't getting very much out of Willumson up until Saturday.
Yeah, the Shrewsbury game, they linked quite well. There was a few nice interplay between them, but then last night again, they just looked like they were complete strangers, and almost like they were trying to do the same job.
Yeah, who was the 10 last night? It was Willumson was a 10 and Dowell was playing touching on the right hand side. I mean, effectively they should have been two 10s because Laird normally plays further up, but Laird was completely locked down yesterday. And
Willumson actually found himself out on the left hand side quite often as well. I don't know if a heat map would show that, or a cold map, if that's appropriate.
An ice map.
An ice map, yeah. Oh, I missed that, didn't I? But yeah, he actually looked like he found himself out on the left quite a few times last night, which made me wonder as well whether they're sort of that he's trying to find that similar space, but without going over to where Dowell is, out on the right hand side, which is the space that he has played previously, and he's played for Blues and at previous clubs and for Iceland as well. So sort of maybe that felt a bit alien to him. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just reaching a little bit there, but after Saturday, it was very disappointing how poor he was last night, and how poor he and Dowell, and to be fair, I mean, it was a poor team performance, wasn't it? But ultimately, they dug in and got a result. And what is a good sign? What is a sign of a good team is that you win games even when you're not playing well.
Yeah, I know. Another chat was in said, "Oh, that wasn't very good." I says, "Well, if you can't be good, be lucky." And essentially, we lived dangerously. We got by the laws of the game, it was a penalty.
I mean,
high
five the ball.
When it first happened, I was just like, "What has gone on there?" Because I just thought the guy had basically just moved his face out the way of the ball. And I didn't realize it hit his hand. But then obviously everybody shouted for it, and the referee didn't even think about it, gave it straight away.
Yeah.
I was just like,
and then a few of their players who were like 30 yards away were adamant that he hadn't done anything. It's like, how have you seen it?
Yeah, I
at
mean,
the other end of the pitch.
He didn't seem to appeal it too much, did he? I was quite. I realised obviously Dowell wasn't on the pitch as well, and he'd obviously taken our last couple of penalties. I was like, oh, who's going to take this? And when Alfie May picked it up, I just naturally assumed that Stansfield was going to take the penalty, because that's obviously what they've been doing recently, and trying to take the strain off of the pressure off.
And they put the stats up on the screen to say
yes.
Alfie May's last
yeah, for those of you that went to the game, you wouldn't have seen that. They put Alfie May's last 7 or 8 penalties or whatever it was.
And then Jay storms up, grabs the ball. I'm having this. And do you know what? I'm not going to lie. I was worried.
Yeah, no, I
didn't think he looked confident. I didn't think that he was going to take it away. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I was not confident at all about him taking the penalty. Yeah.
I when he stepped up and he took the ball, I was just like, I'm worried about this. I'm worried here. No need to be. Absolutely no need to be. I tell you what, they were singing earlier in the game, what a waste of money. But do you know what? To have all of those shenanigans that are going on, the time wasting. He was stood there for a good 2 minutes with the ball, I think.
It felt like an absolute age. And he also looked like he wasn't going to take a run up for the penalty at first. I just thought he was going to take one of those one stride step penalties. And I was like, oh, crikey. But no, I mean, it was a good penalty. With his instep, sent the keeper the wrong way.
Yeah,
I was very, very, very relieved when he scored that, because I wasn't convinced he was going to score at all.
Right, I think it's time we put out a call for some 15-second opinions. So, Dave, can you do the honours, please?
15-second opinion.
Hey lads, another win on the board. Don't think we were anywhere near our usual level, to be honest, but got the job done. That's all that matters this stage of the season. A few more wins and it'll be done. Then we can enjoy that and hopefully a Wembley win. Keep right on.
Hi lads, Steve here. Love the podcast first and foremost. Quick question, Ben Davies. Do you think we're going to struggle to sign him at the end of the season? Thoughts and opinions? Cheers, bye.
Hello boys, hope you're all doing okay. Went last night, Bristol Rovers, sign of a good team. Don't play very well, but managed to grind it out. Great pinball. Stanno, up the Blues, bring on the title. SOTV.
Hi lads, everybody's quick to point out how much money we've spent, but nobody ever points out that one of our most important players, Kesi Anderson, was a free agent. He is superb. Keep right on.
My 15-second opinion is that I'm done with this season now. I can't remember how we played, who we played. All I care about is going to Wembley, the minute we get promoted and then lifting the trophy. All the rest is nonsense. Up the championship, keep right on.
What a ride this season's been. We'll never win as many games as this again, I don't think, in my lifetime, especially as we go up the leagues. 2 more big games at some point in the season, one when we win the league, one when we win the cup. Up the Blues.
Yo, lads, Chris O'Brien here again. What another great away day, Bristol Rovers. Don't want to go there again. Shithole. No, I'm joking. Another one to tick off the list. And next 2 weeks, hopefully, Virtue Trophy winners and league champions. Boom.
My other 15-second opinion is that you want consistency in podcasters. They should appear every week, not go missing for a few months. Are we supposed to have 15-second opinions when we don't know when you're going to be on next? Come on, guys, sort your shit out.
Well,
I mean,
hopefully now 8:30 p.m. on a Wednesday should ensure that the last opinion holder can tune in every week now. Hope he's listening live.
Kids, cats, dogs, and partners all included as a part of the live podcast. So bear with us. But yeah, I mean that's just that's
harsh.
Very, very harsh. I mean,
we have lives outside of podcasting, you know.
We do. I tell you what, pay us. Pay us. We'll do it. The other one that got me there was Chris O'Brien with his perfectly timed boom to go with his 15 seconds running out. Ben Davies. We'll come to that one first.
So I was asked about this on the Rangers Review podcast earlier. And whilst I think we will sign Kieran Dowell, and I think there's something potentially in place for that to happen, I'm not convinced Ben Davies will start. I'm not convinced we'll sign him. I think he may. I think he'll probably like to. You'd expect Dion Sanderson to be moved on. We've obviously signed Philip Neumann, so there's technically going to be another 2 spots up for grabs potentially. He could be one of those. He is a left footer. He does bring balance to the defence. I'm just not convinced we sign him permanently.
I'm not either. I don't know that he'll be. I wouldn't be adverse to him as a squad member.
I think we can sign him. I think we've got the money to it. I think we'd do what we have to do from a financial point of view to satisfy both him and Rangers. But
yep.
I mean, I just can't. My gut feel, and that's all it's based on, is that we won't sign him. That we'll probably go out for someone potentially younger and maybe less expensive from a wage point of view. Doesn't necessarily mean we'll be looking to get better, I think. And don't get me wrong, Ben Davies has been very, very good. He's built a very, very good partnership with Clara, but the pair of them, I'm not convinced they're a championship partnership at this point in time. They've been very, very good in League One.
Let's not forget that there's also Bielik on the books at the moment as well. So
you forget about him because he just disappeared for the last few weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah. Maybe he's not conservative enough.
We don't even know what's wrong with him, do we? He just said he picked up a knock in training and that was it.
Yeah,
there's been a few of those.
Let's move on from defence. I'm with you, to be honest. I'm not sure that he'll be the one that we're looking for, because not so much that anything that he's done, because I think he's any other team, I think would probably snap him up if they get promoted, or when they get promoted. The thing for me with him is that I think that we probably have targets set a little bit higher than him, or a bit, as you say, a bit younger. Now that we've got Newman coming in, that they're going to get someone who they can develop, and it's a bit cheaper. Someone that's not expecting to play every game, but they'll come in and learn the trade a little bit. But I thought that earlier in the season that I didn't think that we would sign him, but then he'd been very good, so I wouldn't be adverse to it.
I wouldn't either. I just gut feel. I just don't think it's going to happen. But
you watch, they'll announce that like tomorrow now.
that sort of shit seems to happen to me quite a lot at the moment. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a different conversation. It's a different podcast. It's one for the summer, but you'd expect there's going to be another 5 or 6 players come in over the summer. There'll be a few players disappear, and then they'll look to refresh a squad a bit without going over the top, because the core of the squad is there now,
and continuity is a big thing as well. Next one that was mentioned, Kesi Anderson.
I've always been a big advocate of him. I think I've said it quite a lot. I could see it in the Championship when he was probably carrying an extra 20 pounds in the Championship. He wasn't quite as fit, but you could still see from a technical point of view how good he was. But now he's lost a bit of weight, put on muscle. He looks more powerful. He's not quick, but he's got a turn of pace that allows him to shift past defender. He, for me, I think we've said it a few times now, he would be my player of the season if it wasn't for the 2 or 3 injuries that he's picked up throughout the season.
I think he's been absolutely that first 40 minutes of the Northampton game as well. Let's forget that as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, he came in on trial while John Eustace was manager. And if we are led to believe what had happened, that John Eustace had no idea that Kesi Anderson was actually turning up and just rocked up at a training ground with his boots one day. And now look at him. He's been a really key figure in our promotion and championship winning season.
That was obviously mentioned in the 15-second opinions. That's why we've discussed him again. I mean, we discuss him like quite often and say like what a guy he is, well, like how good he's playing, how important he is to the team. Because when he's missing and we've got no one to fill that void, you can really see the difference in our performances. But it is when you look at it, and especially when other teams are saying, "Oh yeah, you spent all this money," and it's like, "Oh yeah, but Kesi Anderson was like a freebie." He was like,
and if you think about it as well, and I'm sure I've said this before as well, when Tony Mowbray, I think was it Tony Mowbray or was it? No, it might have been Rooney. No, it was. I can't remember. Anyway, he had the opportunity to leave and go to Rotherham or Sheffield Wednesday during a transfer window in the January transfer window, and he opted to stay and fight for his place. So
it'd be Mowbray, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was around that.
Rooney went on New Year's Day.
Yes, it was in that. Yeah, so it would have been Mowbray, and he stayed, and then obviously became an important player, and he played very, very well in that those last few games when Rout was in charge as well. But yeah, obviously, like a really, really important player. Obviously, a good character. Like it seems to be that like everybody loves him. He's just such a good footballer, and it's actually a shame he's as old as he is now. I mean, he's not super old. He's probably, I guess, his peak years now in new age football terms, but. You feel I definitely feel he can play at a higher level to a good standard, and I think it helps having better players around you that are on your wavelength as well. So if you've got players that are in tune to what you're doing, the patterns of play that we tend to do obviously help quite a lot. But yeah, I mean, he's been magnificent. I say if it wasn't for his handful of injuries he's had this season, he'd probably be my player of the season.
And then record wins as well.
36 now, and no signs of stopping. So 36 or 37.
37.
It might be 37. I can't remember. There's been so many of them, Chris, that you lose count after a while.
I mean, it is all competitions.
Yeah.
Let me have a look. 37. Yeah,
37
it was
slides,
36 after Shrewsbury, and then last night.
Yeah, so yeah, we levelled with what season was it? Was it would that have been the 94-95 season?
I don't know because I'd had a few beers.
Fair.
I messaged you guys forgetting that I'd messaged you, if you remember.
I mean, how many games we got left in the league?
There's 8 left.
8 left in the league, and then we've obviously got the Virtue. So there's another 5 wins there, isn't there? Really.
And in those 8 games left in the league, for the points record of the league, I think we need 6 wins. Is it? I could be wrong there.
Was 106 as a points record. So
yeah, so 107.
Well, at this point of the season, after so many games, we have got like 8 more points than Wolves had at this point. But they must have had one hell of a one hell of a finish. I don't remember it, to be perfectly honest.
I probably wasn't paying much attention.
What else did we have on the 15 seconds opinions? Anything we've missed? Anything else we've missed?
I think that was pretty much it. Just general talk about the play, sort of wrapping the league up, nearly there, Wembley games. So thank you everyone who sent you 15-second opinions in. It's great to get you involved in them. Kesi Anderson, just to go back to him, you said about how much fitter and whatever he's looking. Now the Tom Brady greens might be
Super Greens, TBRX green, Super Greens.
But one player that they don't seem to be doing it for was missing last night. Hansson.
Shock.
I mean, it's getting really frustrating now, isn't it? Because he's in the team. He's looking like Shrewsbury. providing goals, providing openings, and then gone. It's just like he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. I really like him as well. It's.
I mean, I've seen glimpses of what he can do, and I've been impressed with some of the things he's done. Certainly more recently when he came back from injury. We haven't seen it enough because he hasn't been fit.
Which when he came back from injury, which time?
The most recent time. I don't think the club will have the patience, because we've seen how ruthless they are willing to be. I just think he'll get moved on in the summer, and I can see him going back to play in Holland again. As I saw people point to, like, oh, look at all the goals and assists that he got in Holland, but the majority of those came in the second division there, which is akin to probably League One, League Two level, and it's a lot less physical over there. A lot less physical. So, I mean, I want him to come. I want him to play well. Like, I want every player at Birmingham City to play well, but I don't think he's strong enough. He's not powerful enough. He doesn't feel quick enough, and he's not fit enough. He can't. And when he does come back, he's out within 2 or 3 games. Sometimes the first game he's back, which it's disappointing, because obviously we've been quite rigorous in the medical department when we sign players. We're quite happy to turn players away due to failed medicals.
Yeah.
And we had done throughout the summer. There's 2 or 3 players that didn't end up signing because they wouldn't pass our medical.
And we were saying at the start of the season how great it is that we now don't need to sign players that have had injury problems or that you got injury problems, just because the potential is there. So Ethan Laird was one of those where he'd had a lot of injury problems, but it made sense to sign him. But we'd signed a lot of players like that during that season were out injured. So now that we're in the situation we are, it is disappointing that we've signed someone that has picked them up. But also, the flip side of that, I suppose, is that we've had such a busy schedule. We're training, or we are supposedly training very hard. Train as you play. So
there's not a lot of time for training between games, is there? I think Davis has said that as well. They could pretty much come in for one day of training, and there's a lot of like classroom work as well now. So
yeah,
it's walkthroughs and bits. Yeah, it's disappointing. Hopefully we see him before the end of the season, because when I looked at the bench yesterday, I was just like, hold on, is Duke actually getting in ahead of Emil Hansson, or is Emil Hansson injured again? And then it turns out he is actually injured. So, because you'd rather have him come on as a sub than, no disrespect, Juki, I love you, but I mean, you don't really impact the games like you used to. So frustrating. So you have to double his dose of super greens maybe and see if that helps.
Treble it,
yeah. Well, you might be used to having extra green since you played in Holland for a while, so you never know.
The only other, I mean, you smell it sometimes going around the Blues ground as well, don't you? So just get in the roost. The only other thing on my list is about the last 2 games is Davis on Bristol Rovers saying these are the ones you remember.
These are the ones I try to forget. But I think from a player's point of view, he said exactly the same thing after the Barnsley game, because it was a game where we were really up against it. We really had to dig in to come away with the 3 points, and it's those types of games I think he means that you remember these because they are less routine than the 2-0s that we've had against the half the teams in the league back at St Andrews. It's the ones where we've really had to fight and scratch and claw away to get those 3 points. Barnsley was the same. It looked like we weren't going to get anything from that game, and then we ended up obviously winning it 2-1.
Last night for me was different though, because it wasn't that we were just physical and that we were up for it. Because
we weren't. Well, it didn't feel like we were anyway.
No, I think there were. I think last night it felt to me like we maybe shied away a little bit too much at times, but we got the job done. I mean, it was. I mean, there was a moment of luck, or a few moments of luck, and then you create your own luck for the penalty, don't you? And you get that decision, you take it. I mean, the XG last night at one point was it 0.02 or 0.2 or something at one point, and it was just like, I can't see where we're going to get an opportunity here, but we got away with it. Certainly not one that I want to remember. I can't imagine that too many of the players will. But
no, I'd rather just forget it. I'd remember the 3 points and then just go home and go to sleep. But...
Right, let's move on. Before we go on to look at Barnsley, we've got a reminder about the footballstubs.co.uk competition. That's what I should have said last time. Footballstubs.co.uk. I think they're footballstubs_ on Twitter. Now they're giving us 5 ticket stubs to give away for the Virtue Trophy final at Wembley. Chewy, can you remember your question?
Yeah, so I was injured the last time out playing football, broke my arm. For those that didn't hear the last or weren't watching or listening to the previous podcast, was that a week ago? It was a week ago. Yeah, it was actually a week ago, because we have been regular for the last few weeks. Wednesday at 8:30 for those of you that want to leave 15-second opinions.
Also, if you do want to leave 15-second opinions, we will put a post out for them, so you can pay attention that way to know when to send them. But anyway, go on. Question.
So,
who does Chewy's nemesis support?
yeah, who does the nemesis that broke my arm? Who does he support?
What was the what podcast were you on this morning?
The Rangers Review podcast.
Okay. So what you need to do is you need to send your answer to win@wearebirmingham.co.uk. Question again, Chewy?
Which team does my nemesis support? My nemesis being the person that broke my arm, or was involved in the incident of breaking my arm.
Yes, you didn't stamp on it.
What was his reaction when he did it? What has there been much fallout? Have you seen him since? Or, you obviously haven't played football since.
He's as along the lines of that's payback.
What did you do to him?
I'd slide tackled him earlier in the game. He won the ball fairly. Slide tackled him earlier in the game. He was only joking, to be fair. There's been a couple of times. He is known for being
breaking people's arms.
Dirty. Now, to an untrained eye, he's quite sneaky. But you know that the Harry Kane way sort of makes a back for when someone's going up for a header over him, and he sort of did that, and so he knew what he was doing. He absolutely knew what he was doing. I don't think he meant for me to come down crashing on my right arm. So,
has he signed your cast?
No, he hasn't. I've not seen. Oh no, to be fair, no, I have seen a handful of the guys I play football with, because I bumped into them when I was up there. I was in town with my girls over the weekend, and I bumped into a couple of them. But no, I've not seen them. So I don't know what he do.
Are you reaching the age where it really's just got to be walking football from now on?
So you know what people have said, like, it's like, are you going to stop playing now? Are you going to stop doing that?
Is this classed as a fall?
I said, I'm literally
you're old enough to have had
it was
a fall.
Jump. It was a jump. So as soon as I'm in a splint, if I'm out of this and I may be in a splint, I'm playing again. I'll just take it easier.
My nan had a fall walking to the post box, and she was never the same again after that. So I just hope that the same doesn't happen to you, mate.
Did she stop playing football? Or
she stopped playing long ago. She stopped going to the post box, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm sure Matthew will still make it to the. But you have post in Ireland, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yes, yeah.
I mean, you have emails in Ireland. Yeah,
we just got emails.
Okay, cool.
The pigeons just handed over to Royal Mail as well.
Matthew should set up a Hotmail account.
They've all gone.
Yeah,
now,
I'm,
haven't they?
I'm on MSN and I've got no one to chat to.
Just full of people in Northern Ireland. Right then, Barnsley.
Awful stretch of form at the moment.
Conor Hourihane involved in charge.
Oh, of course, because they've set their manager, haven't they?
Yeah. So I think it's like first couple of weeks in March, I think he took over.
I'm sure some choice words about us tomorrow or Friday, whenever he does his press conference. Someone is bound to bring that up, aren't they?
Of course, yeah. Well, their last 5-6 games, lost, drew, lost, and their midfield that was the best midfield in League One, that should have been heading for the Championship, haven't been playing last few games, and Hourihane has said that they've not been good enough. They've been out of form, so they've been dropped. So Luke, is it Luke Connell and Adam Phillips?
Something along those lines, yeah.
The best midfield in the world. Phillips, who got sent off when we played them at their place, didn't he?
I thought he had actually played pretty well in that game until he lost his head. I thought he was quite dangerous, all things considered. But Keeler Dunn scored a few goals, hasn't he, as well? I think this season he's scored quite a few for Barnsley.
Don't know.
Without looking, I'm sure he scored quite a few. This is great content, isn't it?
14 this season.
14.
So
for midfield. So which is obviously very, very impressive.
But was he the other one that they were all saying? I was trying to find who it was that they were on about with the best midfield, and they were saying Luke Connell should have been in the
Connell, Keeler, Dunn, or whatever, because they signed him from somewhere. I can't remember.
I'm sure they did sign him from somewhere.
Yeah, they've dropped down the league. They've obviously lost, still haven't won in about 5 or 6 games. We're at home. You'd expect this to be routine. You'd hope.
There is the I can't even say it, the Villa element with Hourihane.
Is it enough to I mean, can he project that onto the Barnsley players? I just don't think they'd get it.
I mean, Corey O'Keefe, who had the last time out, there was the grief with, wasn't there? So there'll be that.
The Corey O'Grief.
I mean, they're looking at the lineup that they had against Exeter. They've got Bland on the right hand side, so not sure that'll be too much there to worry about. A bit bland. I mean, last time out that we played them, what was it? A Beck own goal that we scored for them.
Oh God,
from the right hand side. Stanno screamer solo effort.
And a header also, or maybe
header from a corner.
Yeah, was it a header or did it like hit him on the shoulder or in the face or something? I can't remember if it was like a clean header,
but like it was like 2 yards out.
It was, But that was the other game that I was talking about earlier that Chris Davies said that these are the games that you remember. It was one of those. But I mean, maybe I'm being overconfident. Our home form really is the thing that's, I've got the most confidence at the moment. I could see us winning it comfortably 2 or 3-0, certainly based on Barnsley's current form as well. I'm not worried about the Villa thing with them at all.
Before you do roll into your predictions, Dave, are you ready with the button?
Yeah, we can have a look at some predictions.
Oh, look at that. So I don't know which ones I've missed out this season. I think I missed a few when Dave was away, but Dave is topping the table because of it more than anything. Look at his bonus points. I mean,
so every time we talk about this, they seem the sort of setup seems.
Have you actually gone through and counted these up? Because I have a feeling you haven't.
No, I have. So I went, but I didn't go through. So I've kept a spreadsheet of them through every episode. But then when Dave wasn't here, when we didn't have a lot of time to record the pod, I might not have put certain results in there. So the last one that I'd got in there was Crawley.
Should we have another quick look at them just so they can come up again?
Yeah. Will it work again?
I'm not entirely sure it's going to work. Let's not then. Let's not.
Let's not have a
live podcasts. Live podcasts.
So we'll work on that for next week so that you can get them up again. But yeah, Dave's top. Right then.
Hey, there we go. No, got it back again. There we go.
There we go.
Touch the button. No, so I'm not too sure how I've managed that.
Chewy is the only one. I mean, I would have leapfrogged both of you if I'd have if my Shrewsbury one. If Shrewsbury hadn't have scored that last minute goal, yeah. Chewy's the only one to get an accurate score, but Dave's got lots of bonus points this season. And I can't believe how close I am still to you with going 4-0 Willumson every game. That is baffling. Right, come on then. Couple of predictions.
I'm going to stick with 3-0.
And a goal scorer?
Stansfield's back on it now, so Stansfield.
Okay.
I so nearly went Kesi for Bristol Rovers as well.
Now remind us of the rules. Who did I pick last week? I think I might have picked Stansfield last week, mightn't I?
You did. Yeah. Well, no, yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah, because we didn't do it on the podcast, but we messaged and confirmed our predictions for yesterday, so that was included in that table. And you did pick Stansfield, and he scored the pen.
2-0 Anderson.
2-0 Anderson, and of course I'm going to go 4-0 Willumson, who's probably not even going to play. But yeah, 4-0 Willumson. There we go. I'd like to see us really come out and take the game to them after what's happened in midweek with the Bristol Rovers game. I think that we need another reaction to say, look, we are in control. We've got this again, and not back-to-back performances like that.
So bearing in mind this weekend, it's Barnsley this weekend, we've got Peterborough midweek, then we've got Peterborough in the Cup on the Sunday. In terms of, I was thinking a step ahead, right? So A, what do we think the team's going to look like on Saturday? And B, do we think it will be almost like all change against, or quite a few changes against Peterborough, so we can go full strength against them, fairly refreshed in the semi-refreshed in the Cup?
I think Chris Davis, being Chris Davis, he'll go with his strongest team continuously.
See,
I'll be very surprised if he doesn't. We need to get you a new chair, by the way.
So, we don't. My company pay for this, so I can't.
WD-40. It's the squeakiest chair in the world.
May get some UB40 on it. But Saturday, would you see Peck come back in instead of Leonard? Would you expect that to happen, or would you maybe give Leonard another go?
I mean, I do like the idea of the three of them playing.
I do as well.
Beck and then having.
But you're just limited of bringing on a centre midfielder, aren't you? Having that option, unless maybe we haven't really got anyone, because I don't think Taylor Gardner-Hickman's fit yet. So,
I mean, yeah, but how often does he replace the midfield two anyway?
For me, I think that he'll go full strength, and that includes Peck on Saturday against Barnsley.
You're flip-flopping between Beck and Peck.
I changed my mind halfway through, and then on Tuesday, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? We play Peterborough.
Tuesday.
I think he'll make a few changes within the realms of what he can do, because obviously there's quite a few injuries at the moment. I think we'll see a handful of players rested or rotated on Tuesday against Peterborough.
Oh, I'm not sure we will. There's so many times this season when I've thought he'll change it up.
He's not,
because of the 20 games.
But the next game's been a league game.
Yeah. I mean,
this is a one-off game where we can win a trophy, and we're almost there in the league, aren't we? I mean,
this is a guy who doesn't want to lose games.
He doesn't. But I honestly do think we'll see what happens on Tuesday. It's a week away yet, but I think that there'll be full strength Saturday. He'll make 4 or 5 changes on Tuesday, and then it's obviously full strength again against Peterborough. I'm quite worried about who. Not worried. I'm wondering who's going to miss out against Peterborough in the cup. I almost feel
it's a bigger bench though, isn't it?
Is it actually a bigger
Is it
bench?
not in the Virtue Trophy games? I thought it was.
Don't know. Can someone answer that for us quickly whilst we're still here?
Dave, can you have a look? I could be completely wrong.
What did we have in the last round against Bradford? Because basically, it's probably the easiest thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just see what we had against them.
But I genuinely think there's been that many times this season where you'd have expected him to change it with how many games are coming up and then international breaks, like a long stretch away. I don't think he cares whether it's a cup game, whether it's a cup final.
Still
or
7. It's still 7.
Is it still 7? Okay, it must have been a different cup game, like the League Cup or.
He's obviously rested players in the cup. He's rotated for the cup, hasn't he? He played what you'd consider weaker teams against Stevenage. I think Bradford. He played a fairly strong team, if not the strongest team against Bradford. I just think with it being the final, there'll be a handful of players that may miss out on Tuesday just to keep them fresh for the final. That's just maybe I'm just thinking what I would do, but that's where my head's at with it.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, the cup final one will be next week. We'll obviously have this game and the Barnsley game and the other Peterborough game to discuss in the build up to that.
A cup final special.
Yeah. I'm going to put on a blue and white Jester's hat, especially for it, I think.
It's going to look delightful with a beard, that will.
It will. It'll look great, won't it? Right. Until next week, then. Enjoy the game on Saturday. If you go in, I forgot to say, actually, lovely to meet a few listeners that came up to me in the fan part before, and that was really nice. So it's great to meet people, and thank you for the kind words. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone getting involved on the watching live and involved in the chat. And thank you for listening. And until next time, keep right on.
Keep right on.
Keep right on.